Okay, welcome to Stampscapes Live. I'm going to be trying something that I failed at the other day due to technical issues in regards to stamp impressions on the Pearl glossy photo paper. Okay, this is your type of paper that you can run through your, I think, inkjet and laser printers. I'm not printing on them so much as stamping on them, but I will have to try it someday in an actual printer, maybe one of these days. I think that could be potentially pretty cool. I don't know, you can print out photographs or I don't know, you can scan in your pieces, that you've done on whatever, a matte white cardstock or something like that, maybe, and see what it looks like. Print it out on the Pearl, the canvases, the printable canvases and whatnot. So I don't know. All right, folks. Hello, Crazy Cat and Froggy Fresh. I'm going for some redemption here. Watch it not work out for me, but I did some test prints with this stamp again. I've cleaned off my stamps. There was a ton of buildup on there. Hello, Rhonda and Karen. And looks like I didn't. No, I did clean this one off completely. Okay, so if you were on the other day, I was having a really difficult time doing anything on this paper, and I don't know why, I didn't remember having any problems on there, but in the meantime, hello CM, I scrubbed this off, and here's the thing, I've never run into this problem before because I haven't been using StazOn for very long. But yeah, I have a feeling that this StazOn in conjunction with the Clair that I've probably used on a lot of these stamps over the last couple months or something like that. I think it built up a crust on there that was, it was hard and porous though. So someone mentioned it. They said it looked like the ink that I was applying on here might be, I don't know how they said it. It was in back of the inks that I was applying on there. Or no, it was in back of the inks that were already dried on here, okay? And I think that's what it was. So it just, between, I don't know, some kind of chemical type of composition that made for a sealed off yet porous surface. So all of my ink was getting absorbed in the back of a hardened layer of, these types of things. Maybe the Brilliance too. The Brilliance is a fast drying water base, but maybe when combined with something like a solvent, it was becoming like this hard thing. So it might not have even been completely on the surface of the imagery, but it might have been in all of the grooves in here that these 2 or 3 inks have been applied into, making for this absorbent surface, and it was getting sucked in there. I don't know, that's what I'm guessing. That's the only thing I can figure out because I just did a couple test prints. I wasn't going to do the same thing. That's the other thing. Oh my God, it's not working out at all. But let's see how this goes here. I don't know, maybe I should do a test print here, but I don't think I need to. It would seem to be working just fine. Okay, so just some dye-based inks like this. And another thing I did too, all of my pens were really getting dried out, so they have been re-inked. Okay, and I did that on that live stream yesterday. Maybe some of you were on that one, but I've refit. Okay, so we're going for this kind of fantasy looking type of scenario. I don't know, it's not necessarily fantasy. I mean, these types of visuals exist out there in the world. I was showing, if people weren't on, I was going for this type of color scheme right here. I love those pinks and purples in this. And I don't know if I've really tried for kind of a scenario like this before where it's really filled in with a lot of those types of tones and values and I guess color temperatures too. But I wanted to try it out in this mill scenario here. I've always liked, I don't know, I've always liked this kind of rustic structures amongst a lot of different colors. I think that brown kind of mellows out the different types of color schemes that you might use in a piece. So you can always just go with your, whatever colors, the colors that I'm coloring these specific trees probably doesn't exist in the world, but who cares? All right, so let's see here. Good morning in Perth, Nicole. All right, so I want to have some hanging foliage coming in from this way, and I want to have some foliage coming in from this way. So I want this really encompassed, or I don't know, I want this enveloped would be the word in here with those different types of color schemes, okay? I just remembered something too. Okay, I think I could do it after this. I was going to put a little bit of a haze around this pearl with some black ink to kind of contain the imagery and to give it a little bit more of a really definitive color scheme, or lighting scheme, I should say. So one of the things about the pearl is it's a really reflective surface, so you get those types of glary types of reflections off of there. So there's, in many ways, and this, you can just keep it flat, okay? And just the lighting in this room, okay, is giving it, there's already a light, like an inherent lighting scheme in here. Let me give a little bit more pressure to this. Hopefully I didn't dry that out blabbing here, but oh my god, I waited too long. What is going on here? I swear this works. Okay, so see this right here? That's my test print right there. Why did that just stamp out really light? And there's another one right there. See that right there? It's much, much darker. Okay, here, I need to do it. I'm gonna do a fast print there. That was my test print there. I just wanted to show you guys what not to do. Why did that do that? Oh my gosh. Is anyone doing witchcraft on me out in there in the viewership right now? Right here. I wonder if, wait a minute, I wonder if this paper is like one of those papers where if you hold it down, okay, there we go. I wonder if this is one of those papers where if you hold it down for too long, the emulsion coating on here is, maybe it's like stays on sometimes, when it stays on certain types of surfaces. When you stamp it down, if you hold it too long, I'm talking about like the printable vinyls, okay? I'm finding that if I stamp faster, it works. And I mean, these ones right here where I did those test prints like this was a little test print. I just went like that. Okay, it's working just fine. And then this one I went even faster, and that printed out faster. I don't know, maybe you got to go for speed. Maybe on this one right here, I was holding down forever when I was talking to you guys. So, I don't know, stamp fast. Or test it out, a little bit too. Okay, now that doesn't look like it's so dark, but it's because it's got the shimmer on it, okay? And it is a little bit more sealed off naturally than other types of papers. But that's a pretty good print right there, okay? Like I said, it's very reflective too, so you're getting a lot of light reflecting off of that image. So, I don't know. You can try it in other types of media too. A clean stamp with stays on here. I don't know, I haven't tried that yet because I was using stamps that were coated, I guess. Hello, Linda. So Linda, you tried this on your pearl paper too. I forgot what you said about that. Was it the diet? Someone else mentioned it too, unless you were the one that said you were talking about the alcohol inks. Weren't they runny or something like that? Or someone mentioned that. Telling my husband we have to drive 13 hours next weekend. Oh my gosh. To pick up your Christmas present. Huh. And what would that be? Okay. For me, Stays-On needs to be cleaned off your rubber after each stamping. That would be really wise. I scrubbed off all of my stamps with the scouring side of like a kitchen sponge, and that took it off, but I had a ton of buildup, okay, on mine. Okay, so stamping this rock out, all right. And this stamped out okay on my previous live stream for some reason. This one, I don't know, maybe it wasn't as dirty or something like that. I don't know. Let's see, let's stamp it out really fast here. That, and I don't know. It's okay, I guess. All right. And no, Linda, the blunders are not entertaining. I'm joking. Okay, well, someone mentioned the alcohol inks on their pearl paper, but I asked him. I said, "Hey, is that the pearl cardstock or is that the pearl printable paper? You know, which is going to have a completely different surface on it." The pearl, I think they were probably mentioning. I didn't go back on Facebook to see, but I was guessing that the pearl that they might be using is the cardstock, which would be much more akin to, let's see if I have some here, the Star Dream styles of iridescence. You know what I mean? This has a very pearl type of, this one just happens to be blue, but there's the lapis lazuli like this one right here. But the Star Dream silver and gold are quite different. Here's that iridescent type of paper. So kind of looks similar in terms of surface quality, but very different in terms of the chemistry of these two types of things. This one, this one's going to take inks completely different because it doesn't have this, whatever it is on here, emulsion coating that makes it accept your inkjet styles of papers to me. So yeah, but yeah. I need to clean off my stamps. If I'm using StazOn for now on, at least for the next like 2 days, I'm going to be cleaning them off. And then I'll just let them pile up again. When I get done with these videos, these live streams, I typically go on and I'll edit them out or something like that, or I have to put the notation because I don't know what I'm going to be using on these videos when I go into it. So a lot of people want to know that type of thing, so I go on and I edit them out. I have to put the notation. I have to go grab this and say, okay, what stamps did I use on there again? So I'm usually doing that type of thing. And then, I don't know, some of these streams are a couple hours, so I'm going and doing other things. And then I just don't get around to cleaning them off. Look how dark that is right there. All right, so I don't know, I guess quick impressions. I thought that was only with StazOn on certain types of papers because it StazOn really dries really fast. You know what's happening too? This emulsion coating on here, okay, when you're running it through your printers, and I never knew what type of inks are in like an inkjet printer, but on these paper packs that I'm getting, these printable vinyls, printable papers and stuff, some of them have, it says down in the corner, it says dye-based inks, okay? So here's what I'm thinking here. When I'm using this water-based ink on here, I think that this emulsion coating is going into solution a little bit and transferring maybe onto this right here because, it's coming into contact with it like that. So I might be getting some of that emulsion on here too during that entire process. I don't know, I should probably clean these off, after using them on this type of paper like that. The vinyls, the printable vinyls, things like that. If I had issues, I've never had those issues before, so I don't know. Okay, let me see here. All right, so I wanted to put in those purple types of foliage. Oh, okay, I cleaned that stamp off. I need to go grab it right here. I should retitle that last video that I did, Impression Nightmares, because that's what it was. I speculated that could be one of the problems, of not cleaning the stamps and then if I was stamping all those other, like on a glossier matte cardstock, it probably wouldn't have had those issues, but probably this having that emulsion coating on there and then having a lot of that ink recessed behind the, hello, Eleanor, good to see you. It probably had played some sort of factor in there. I don't have any StazOn cleaner. I know some people do, like Linda has it for sure. You know, she was telling us how we can clean off our, if we get a missed impression on like the silver cardstock and the mirror types of scenes, that's really good for it. But I don't know. You know, I don't know. I guess StazOn's probably good. The cleaners. A little lap doggy. Ah, that's worth the drive there. It was the pearl cardstock from Michaels. Okay, were you the one that, okay, you were the, that was that you had the issue with the alcohol inks like that? Pearl cardstock from Michaels. Okay, so that's a cardstock then. I could see, you know, different things happening like on my Star Dreams. That's the Star Dreams are the ones that I can kind of relate to in terms of maybe a pearl type of cardstock from Michaels. I'm guessing with that CM. Alcohol wipes to clean off the StazOn. Oh, that's interesting. That would be a good one. Huh. Froggy Fresh, do you clean off your stamps after the alcohol wipes too, or do you just leave the alcohol on there? That's the one thing that I've kind of wondered about with something like that. If you kind of dab it off after the alcohol inks too, just to take off the residual alcohol, the rubber. Let's see. I use the StazOn cleaner to go stamped images. Okay, so the StazOn cleaner to go stamped images. How do you do that, Nicole? So you stamp it out with the StazOn ink, and then do you apply the StazOn cleaner to, or do you use the StazOn cleaner to do like reverse impressions or something like that? Huh. Sounds pretty cool. Okay, let's see if we can do this here. Now, I think this worked out, right, the other day. Oh, wait. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little bit different on this one right here. Okay, so this paper, let me see. Okay, see, I'm already thinking of this as a little bit of like the Star Dream, okay, which it's not. I was thinking about putting a little bit of a haze around this with some tone. I don't think it'll spread though, now I'm thinking about it. Okay. I'm using too many different surfaces these days, but let's give this one a shot, and let's see if we can experiment with this a little bit. I'm just going to use a paper towel here. I'm thinking maybe a cotton ball might even be better in terms of just getting a little bit of a vignette around the sides, but I think this is really going to grab the ink off of this really fast. So another thing I can possibly do is I can wet this down a little bit and then dab in a little bit of tone. But I'm going to have images in these corners anyway, so maybe it's not going to matter because it's just going to be some background shading. I'm not sure. Okay, so hello, Debbie. Okay, there we go. I'm just going for some of this right here. Okay, here. Let me do this on this one right here, right? On the test print. Okay, this is grabbing the color pretty fast, and I bet you that is going to be fairly dry. Let's see, I'm going to take a clean part like that. See that right there? And let's go in like this. That is pretty well set. I think it removed off a little bit of it, but that's not too bad right there. You know, in terms of application, okay, it didn't grab it so forcefully like I think the printable vinyl would, where I couldn't kind of spread it around a little bit. But again, it's going to be kind of a relatively fast process right here. Let's mix it in a little bit. Let's go with a little bit of, I just re-inked this right here with a gray. That's gray green. Okay, this is gray green. Oh, laurel green. What was that other one that I used? Oh, I can't remember. I added gray to something. But let's go with a little bit of a few. Okay, it's my every pad that I always want to go for is on the bottom of a stack. So this is the stack, you know, right here. Good thing Marvy pads are like that. Sorry that they're no longer available for you, I know. But let's go with some of this right here. Let's go for a little bit of a lighter tone, you know. But gray, of course, is going to be related to this silver in terms of general tone. Okay, so let's see light here. Let's see. Hello, Deanna. Good to see. I love your latest pieces and all of your fantastic work we've been seeing on Facebook. The pieces have looked fantastic. Hey, Linda, did you throw that triptych? It's not really a triptych, but your Halloween pieces on your Flickr account. Okay, see that right there? I'm just going for a little bit of a vignette around there, like that. Okay. About like so. Deanna did a pink one. I didn't check it, but I got that notification that you added that. So I want to check that out. All right, so this, in terms of a process, it's kind of, it's real gritty feeling, okay? Usually when I'm doing this on, like a Star Dream or something like that, a cardstock, like a iridescent cardstock, I'm getting much more coverage, but since this is the emulsion coated, remember this is a printable paper right here. It's not printable vinyl, and it's not sticker paper either. It's grabbing the color much faster, so I'm using a lighter touch with this, and it feels like, I don't know, the feel of it from a kinesthetic standpoint. It's like I feel like I'm adding this onto like a piece of like copy paper or like a chalkboard. You know, because everyone really likes that feeling of like, you know, fingernails across chalkboard. We're not using fingernails. It's like a, you know, think about like a dry paper towel across a chalkboard or something like that. But see, this is what I'm going for. I'm going for this little extra glow like that. That's just, I mean, we can make it, it doesn't have to be subtle. I can go darker on here, which I will, but let's just build it up slowly. Don't go for, you know, the amount of darkness that I will achieve through kind of multiple layers like that. So, let's see here. Okay, so a little bit more black right here, and okay, I'm not going to add the black directly in there. I'm going to put it on kind of a cleaner part of the paper towel like this. This pad is really starting to like indent, you know. Goodbye to Marvy inks at some point in time. If you want them, like we were talking about yesterday, if you weren't in the live stream, not that you wouldn't know this anyways, but Marvy, both the pads have long since been kind of, you know, going out, but the re-inkers, they're starting to run out of their re-inkers, and the 1500 series pens are not going to be carried by at least Uchida USA, you know, and I gotta think the US market is a big part of the market for their dye-based markers that have been around for ages and ages and ages. Those two will no longer be available at some point in time after they run out of their inventory, but they did have a lot of different colors, and I'm not sure, you know, how popular those things were. Well, I was thinking they probably weren't very popular because it's more of the double-sided ones, but in terms of your coverage with certain types of imagery, the 1500 series are really fantastic for that really big, thick types of brush markers with a lot of very vibrant inks Does anyone have Deanna, do you have, I can't remember. I know you're using a lot of the Marvies, but do you have the pens too? Okay. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, with those images, okay, yeah. I don't know. I guess I need to connect with you, Linda. You're under Linda Bystrom on Flickr. Everyone go check out Linda's monster maps and stuff such. Deanna, you used to be on Flickr too, right? Are you adding stuff still on there? But I was thinking, Linda, you should submit those maybe to like Rubber Stamp Madness for next year's, Halloween issue. Okay, folks, we're almost there. And I've mentioned lighting before. Easy lighting, okay? Really easy lighting, and a really simple lighting scheme, okay? But it's really simple and it's very, very applicable to scenes, okay? If you just kind of make your corners of your pieces, you might be doing this with other types of cards too. It's not just scenic stamping, it's just doing any type of card, it's doing that little vignette in there. But the difference between like scenic stamping and just kind of an overall vignette, if you want to have this kind of represented within scenery types of things, is all you do is you take this whole type of overall glow and then you just divide it somewhere, just depending on where your image is, your main imagery. You might have multiple things. You might have mountains in the background, cabin or whatever, a meadow, trees, and something like that. But just somewhere along the line, you do at least one kind of a separation of an overall lighting source, like coming from the background, and you just divide it with a little bit of a darker tone. So right in here, I have this mill in here and these rocks to the side, and I'm just using that as an opportunity to come in here and to do this, I don't know what you would call it. I guess it's a secondary vignette right in here. And you can do this like this. You can come in like this too from the top. Like this, okay? So what now you have in a situation like this is you have, instead of just light like that and dark out there, you have light and reflected light down here, because if light is in the sky, it usually represents, the light source or something like that, even if you don't have a specific sky figure like a sun or a moon or something like that, okay? So it's just lighting coming from above, and then, down here you have reflected light. All right, and that's just created by having a little bit of tone right here. So it's just like this. So it's, instead of like this, it's like this. It's like an 8, okay? Sometimes this area up here is smaller, like you have a moon or something like that, and the reflected light is bigger, but it's still, you can see it like a snowman or something like that, or whatever. All right, so easy stuff, and you can use that type of lighting scenario on, I don't know. I mean, you can use it on 100% of your scenes if you want to, and it's just a really easy thing to do. If you're using different color schemes, if it's a blue sky or something like that, then just make these ones a little bit blue up here. If this is green grass down here, then just make the darker tones down here, like darker green or something like that. So it's not always just black. I'm doing it on here because that matches the pearl really well. So it looks a little bit more aged this way too, and it also contains all the different imagery that we'll be using on here, which will be, kind of loud and whatnot with the pinks and purples on there. So again, I want to go for that again, that type of look, if I can get the impressions. Okay, so these are going to be down here, okay? like this, a little larger imagery in the foreground. And maybe I'll even have that coming like that. I want to have it a little bit more open. I was thinking of a kind of a fisherman's dream type of thing, you know, little fisherman like right in here. And maybe we do some background trees right in here, like about like so. Okay. And then I'll leave this open. You know, we don't want to cover up everything probably with that pearl type of look. We want to have that luster and that really reflective type of shimmery surface on there. But we'll see if we can integrate that and make it look, you know, really a great part of this whole kind of scenario here. Lighting scenario, shading scenario, I guess, too. All right, let's see. All right, these, I'm trying to think of what color I want to do these trees in here. I do have my pens kind of re-inked again, so it should be fairly bold when doing this. I don't want to take forever to ink these up though, so I'm going to go with a pad. Checking my pad, I hardly ever use this purple, so I don't even know what condition it's in. Now let's see how this one goes. This one's starting to crumble. You see that kind of area right there? If I get crumbs on this, I'm not going to use it. Okay, let's see. I know these are aspen trees, but these are like aspen trees on like on Star Trek. A different world. All right, so going like that. It's a real kind of scumbly type of application of that tone. And maybe not, well, okay, let's use some magenta here. My, this kind of goes against, not in every way, but I feel kind of weird inking these ones up in this color scheme. But it's like purple, you know, it's Purple Fridays here. I was thinking it'd be interesting to do, have a theme, you know, for live streams or something like that around a certain color scheme. Maybe I'd do that for a week or something like that. I don't know what would be the most interesting color scheme in that type of a scenario. Okay, so these ones are going to go, I'm going to put these ones right over the top of this rock. The rock's probably going to show through, but we're going to use the paint pens on here anyways. So even if that darker area of the rock does show through, it's not going to matter, right? And then I'll do another tree on the other side of the rock, so I'll mask off the rock in the next one. So you get this rock that's sandwiched in between imagery, right? I mean, if you want to, you can do something like, you can plan this out and you could stamp this out first, and then this one where you mask off this tree a little bit, but I don't think we need to do that. Okay, so see, this tree, I'm stamping it right in this corner right here anyway. So again, you know, if you didn't get some really, you know, smooth applications of your vignette area, you're covering it up. Oh yeah, I gotta do this faster, huh? Oh, well, maybe you didn't need to do it faster. I don't know. There's a ton of ink on here. Again, I've really re-inked this. Boy, that is really, really vibrant with those tones like that. I guess, I don't know. I guess it's a good idea to use, you know, some non-dry pens when, you know, when stamping too. For submission, well, no, Linda, you're not going to send in the originals to Rubber Stamp Madness. You would send in just your, you know, take just good photographs. You know, your photos look good. You know, these days, you know, people doing, you know, phones and everything like that. They have really good resolution or whatnot. You know, and if you need to, just manipulate it a little bit in some kind of editing software. You know what I mean? If you don't get the right exposure, Or just, I don't know, take a few photos and just see how it looks. I'm guessing that, they're getting a lot of digital submissions these days anyway. But yeah, these days too, I mean, it's probably a lot of photograph. It's not so much, it might be, I don't know. I don't know if people are, does it say to submit originals or something like that on their site? Because it's not like Stamp or Sampler where they were photographing and staging artwork. But I don't know if they're utilizing scans or like photos these days for their pieces. All right, let's mask this off about like so. Okay. Undermask a little bit, have some of your rocks showing. Like maybe not a 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit less than a 1/4 inch. I mean, this is like super juicy, so. And then we'll do this one behind the rock, okay? These are just little things that you can do, subtle little things that you do. You have foreground imagery. Instead of just stamping the rock like that with reeds or grass in front of it or branches, you just have some of it behind, like a rock or something like that in the foreground, and some of it behind. So you're playing around with depth really within the foreground area too. You can do that throughout scenery or stuff like that. You can mask some things off, you might, little bushes or grass or something like that in front of this one, but then you do it also behind it. Debbie, this is the Pearl printable photo paper. So kind of like, well, it's like photo paper. The thing about this Pearl, it feels different than, it definitely feels different than the printable vinyls, and it feels different than like your your Kodak or whatever, Epson, Costco, Staples types of photo papers. Just the latest photo papers feel different. Okay, this is I'm saying this type of photo paper, so I don't know if it's the new generation of stuff. That paper, that other Kodak paper that I showed you is, it's probably 20 years old. So there might be like a different type of chemistry going on. Let's see, Linda, yeah, not so out of the box stamper. Well, Linda, I don't know. You're coming up with some amazing different compositions in terms of, I don't know, what we've seen though. We've seen, especially in that Halloween one, I think that Halloween one blasted open some new scenarios at the very least, huh? Wasn't that fun though? Okay, so I'm going to go for some of these right in the background. That is going, if I do it like in the background like there though, boy, that's going to be really overpowering. Maybe I'll go for some lighter impressions, or maybe I'll go for a blotted impression, huh? Let's try that. Let's do kind of a lighter impression on here. Let's go for a color application, or maybe these ones should be the green, and the one in the middle, the deciduous, should be the colored one here. Boy, that's a lot of coloring here, but it won't take too long. Okay, so this is going to look really weird when I do this, but the paint pens hopefully are going to bring it all together. So I say that ahead of time, so you won't have maybe a little bit less of this kind of repulsed, kind of a emotional effect when you see something, stamped in the background in this color scenario here, probably. All right, now this one I didn't re-ink. This one right here, I didn't know what to mix. Olive brown is not a Marvy matchable pad, and I didn't have some of those other colors. So I think on this olive brown, I would do like maybe a combination of some brown and some green or something like that when I re-ink this, or when I have to re-ink this one. This one's not too bad right now, though. Okay, so that is that. And then we're going to come into, I'm not going to use this whole stamp right here. It's going to be mostly these trees up top. So I'm going to come into it like this with the pink. Okay. It's probably going to look really weird. I guess maybe I'm probably mentioning the potentially weird color scheme. I'm telling me too. So there's pink and green right here because I'm mixing them and I'm not really, I want those to be merged a little bit, but not overly so. Let's see, let's go for a little bit of a darker tone too. That one's really dark. See that one right there? Okay, so let's go like that. And then mix that back in again. Oh, did I not re-ink this one? I didn't re-ink this one. Okay, this one's really dry. I didn't re-ink everything because, I don't know, that video yesterday was running a little bit too long. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's going green, pink, green like that. But again, it's kind of a base layer for a lot of the other media to come. I don't know if I want to blot this one off here. All right, folks, I'm gonna have to do a test print here. I don't like to do that too much because it took a long time to color. But I had no idea what that was going to look like right there. I've never done this color scheme on this stamp before. I might have done it with oranges, but I don't remember doing that. A lot of times I just bring in those colors kind of towards the end anyways. Oh, get better, Debbie. That's going around, huh? People are really catching that. Hopefully you're breathing okay, and hopefully you're. One of the biggest things with those kind of respiratory things, it's the sleep, isn't it? Delina, I'm using the 1500 series of Marvy dye-based brush markers, or you can call them watercolor pens or something like that. Okay. If you like what you see, and these pens are really good for wide areas of color applications on stamps that have a lot of surface area like that. You don't need them for things like outline styles of designs, but for doing like things like this, and getting variations, kind of a more watercolory look in here. See, I have that magenta and some of that pink within the purple there. I should have used a little bit more of those colors in there. These brush markers are a really good way to go, but they are going to be discontinued, meaning that Marvy or Cheetah is just not going to reorder them anymore, apparently, which is really sad. We just looked into it yesterday. I told someone, where to go get these pens, and I guess they contacted Cheetah probably because they were running into a lot of colors that probably said sold out. So she contacted customer service, and they just said, hey, what we have is what we have. And if you ever get these pens, watch my video on re-inking them. You won't need to re-ink these types of pens for a really long time because they are super, super juicy, okay? And they last for quite a while before you read. When I say I've re-inked these pens, like these pens right here are the 30-year-old ones, okay? I've probably only re-inked them about, I don't know, maybe 5 times or something like that. Have a good time with Yahtzee, Laura. I remember when Yahtzee came out in the 70s. I'm trying to remember, did Yahtzee, were there commercials for Yahtzee? I think there were. That's one of those games that we started playing when my son was little and he was kind of he would go through the board games in our closet, and it's like all these games that I hadn't, that I have, but Hadn't played for years, and I think we took Yahtzee because Yahtzee you don't really need anything, but the dice and scorecard. So I think we took that traveling occasionally. All right, so going on with this something, let's add a little bit of purple to this too. So you can do these little watercolory types of touches with these pens like this, okay? And they're perfect for blending in like this, and you don't have to worry about that polluting of one color into the next like you would with a pad. It's not so easy to blend in with a bunch of pads. So with something like this, you just kind of go like this, and see that right there? That purple is out of this pen now. All right. All right. So I'll go up about like this. I'll go up, I'll have another one like right here. And I think that'll be the last one of this. I could go for another one right here, but I want to have those other, that other foliage hanging down here too. All right, so I have something like that. Now it's really standing out because these impressions are a lot darker than what we have in here, but we'll try to blend all this in here too. And then plus I'm going to render this, okay? It's just been stamped out, with dye-based black ink right now, and we'll need to render all of that in to make it look more solid, So that's what you do with all of your types of open imagery when you're doing these types of heavy applications like that. Even if there's tones in there, and even if a building is supposed to represent, being white or something like that, add in your shadows in terms of gray tones and stuff like that. That's something that I see once in a while on pieces. And they look really good, but you really do need to add in your colors and kind of your midtones and things like that into those pieces just to make them look more solid. And again, even if this was on a white piece of paper and a building is supposed to be white, okay, like I said, add in shadows or whatnot, okay. This wouldn't be bad like this too. Okay, let's do something with this one right here too. I need to go to North Carolina, apparently, Nina. That sounds really nice. I need to travel around during certain times of year in various places. I was doing a lot of that travel back when I used to be teaching workshops all over the place. But it was only in the last about 2 years, when I was doing a ton of travel, that I start really scheduling in a few extra days to really check out the local sites in different areas and whatnot. And that was really fantastic. Rocky Mountain National Park, when I was traveling from Colorado Springs to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and going to, I don't think it was the Fort, it might have been the Fort Collins one. There was a couple different trips there in Colorado, but just amazing, amazing colors. And of course, I always talk about Maine with Acadia and seeing that in full color too. But yeah, I just wish I had taken more time in different areas during those heavy travel years. That green looks really good down there. I'm gonna have to go again, like in a couple more areas like that. It looks kind of awkward like this. There's just like two things of purple and then one green, so we kind of offset it, What do they say about kind of compositions in threes, That's why there's like 3 trees on this one right here too. Okay, let's see. What a difference some nice juicy pens can make. It's the difference between kind of a working like live stream video presentation and a humiliating one. I don't know if it was humiliating, but it was baffling, I should say, at least, the other day. I didn't clean, if anyone's just wasn't on the other day, I didn't clean off my stamps for a while, and I hadn't been using StazOn inks in the past years. I was only using, for the most part, water-based inks on my stamps, okay? And it had built up like this crust over at least the a lot of the stamps that I was trying to use on this pearl paper in the last, or 2 days ago. And I could not get, well, the impressions look like this. They were super light like that. So that's, I don't know. That tells me that, you really got to clean off the StazOn ink, especially in combination if you've used like a solvent ink on something, then maybe there was some VersaFine Clair on there as well, an oil-based pigment ink, and there might have even been some brilliance on a lot of these stamps. But the Clair and the brilliance and the dye-based inks I found did not do a whole lot to it. But then when you add in that solvent type of component in there and slather it over there and use it and then don't clean it off, it created like this crust or something like on there, where when I applied ink on there, it was absorbing through that porous surface like that, and I was just stamping them out, and I wasn't getting any kind of impression at all. So, not not a really great stamping scenario, absent impressions. We want impressions here. Okay, let's see here. Debbie has great meds. Always to have the great meds. So the meds are kind of taking care of some of the worst of the symptoms then. The coughing ones are always the worst, aren't they? Especially if you can't sleep at night. Okay, so let's do this. I want to have some of these coming in like this. Like I said, I'm going for a really dense, plush surface, okay? I want some, like, again, okay, so you've just joined in. I want to go for something in the spirit of this, okay? Not that dense, because we have some open area with some water down there like that. But, just kind of, I want to go for the vibe of this, okay? We're not going to, achieve that type of look in here, but, these types of things. It almost becomes like, in some areas, look at this one right here with these pink, with this pink scenario like that. It's the blossoms on the ground though that are really spectacular though, aren't they? Like that with that green in there. So it's just got that little tinge of pink in here, but it's all about this right here, right? So. That's I've been inspired by this one right here. So you see, look at these pinks right here over the tops of those grains. So it's early on before they start kind of falling on that, that open area like that. But look at that right there with those, those pinks and the, I don't know, whatever, the late kind of afternoon or, sunset type of sun, hazy light in there. But see these types of things, these transitioning areas of, see how this is going from a darker pink to a lighter pink like this because of that lighting is hitting it like that down there. So, but okay, so what I was talking about with the lighting scheme in here, just going from like, there's your light source up there. It's really kind of narrow, right? But then it's going dark and then it's light like this. And like this is right here, it's kind of like a illuminated area like this, but it's being divided up, like these darker passages like this. It's going dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark right here. It's behind that bush, that tree right here, but it's light down here. So something's catching that light right there. So that's what, that's all you need to do for easy lighting scenarios in terms of designing your lighting schemes in there, okay? Look towards nature or whatever, or photography too. All right. Yeah, I thought Yahtzee had commercials because I seem to recall someone saying like Yahtzee, when that game came out. All right, so let's see. Let's do some. Maybe after looking at that one, maybe I don't want this kind of drooping one, but I was thinking the oak branch could be used for that, kind of like that scenario we just saw, with all those kind of pink blossoms. These are purple right here, but those are going to turn more pinkish to me, okay? Again, it's kind of a foundation for the paint pens. A lot of this piece is going to be about more of the paint pens. Okay, so let's do that here. All right, let's see, how should I do this here? Instead of using black, let's go with this brown pen, okay? And let's go like this through kind of the main structure, if you can see the branches in there. You don't have to be perfect or anything like that by any means, okay? And where'd my violet pen go? Here we go. Let's go like this, okay. So I'm blending into that brown a little bit. Maybe not completely, but I'm going into it a little bit. I'm not sure what part of this I'm going to use. I think I'm just going to be like this, okay? So, and then let's go with the pink, and we'll add kind of those highlighted areas on and maybe within. So as I'm doing this, the way that I'm doing this right here is I'm kind of going like this. And the more I apply in an area like that, I'm kind of wiping off some of that darker ink within those spots, okay? And it doesn't matter where you do it, just if you want to get some variation. Now, sometimes when you're going light on dark like this, like I do, sometimes you stamp it out and it's like, oh, you don't have any light in there at all. It's because, the darker kind of color kind of overpowered it a little bit. So a lot of times I don't know, I probably don't pull and lift some of the color, or as much of the color as I thought there would be, okay? And when you're doing this type of thing too, even if you're just stamping this out, if you're doing this in greens or whatever colors you're doing, if you stamp it out like a white piece of paper, it can look really cool too, because you get that watercolory look in here. A lot of that's kind of been forgotten over the years. If you've been stamping for a while, a lot of people were doing this type of coloring on the imagery to begin with. I was doing, where was that? I think it was rubber. There was some book that I was going with. I think it was rubber stamping for the first time. I'm looking on my my bookshelf right now. I was going to go through some of those scenarios. I did it for like 2 lessons or something like that. I did embossing, and I think I did watercolor applications or something like that. A couple of the beginning techniques from like a early 1990s book. And because some of those, it occurred to me at some point in time that some of those types of processes have been kind of forgotten over the years. Some of those really cool types of rubber stamping techniques and whatnot. Some of them I never did too, like embossing. I need to get back into embossing again, but I've been using a lot of the vinyls and holographic papers and things like that. Not easy to emboss on, without kind of like melting your surfaces. Okay. There's that. Let's make it a little bit denser. Let's go with a lighter tone, like this. I'll just use the pink right here. And I won't go with the dark brown branch either. Okay. this. And on the oak branch here, by the way, there's an area that's a little bit more dense and darker, and then there's an area that's lighter. And I've designed it, I hardly ever use the whole thing, but I've done it where, I have these different scenarios where if you want to, have a fairly, dense coverage, then you can use like the denser part. Or if you want kind of a real sparse one, but you want the foreground in there, you can use that. And again, you can use this one coming from below as a bush, like that. Or something coming from above, like a overhanging tree limb or something like that sort, like I'm doing here. All right, so I'm just going to use a little bit of this one right here. Did I color that part up? Let's see. I did, Kay. For now on the live streams, I've decided that I can only do whatever color scheme I have the clothes for, in terms of colors. So most cards for now on are going to be black. I'm joking, folks. But yeah, look at this. You can wear this as, this will be like a nice like t-shirt or a nice a pendant. I'm going to laminate this and put like a little cord around it so I can wear this like that. Oh no, yeah. Don't any of you have like a Cricut or whatever that you can do those iron-on things with? I forgot what scenario that is where you can use your. It's the Cricut, right? It's the Cricut one where you can do those transfers. I haven't seen, well, I haven't been going to a lot of conventions like over the last even 10 years, but I'd see people walking around in like a Stampscapes, whatever, apparel where they used to. I think you used to take, you could use like a color laser image from like those nice colored laser machines like from like Kinko's or copier places, okay? This is back then. And I'm not sure, I think you had to have it printed on a certain type of paper or something like that. Maybe you took into, one of those print places and they would print on there, and then you can use that laser ink coming out of those printers. You can iron it onto a shirt. So I saw like people, going around. It was like there was like a a camp or something that was going on, and they had like Lakeside Cove on there or something like that on T-shirts. I think there was like a church camp. I don't know. I still have that shirt. Someone brought it in. Like they made me an extra copy, or extra shirt, and I think that was from I can't remember the name of that laser printer that was at Kinko's, or the brands that they always had. Okay, so here's some browns like this right here. Okay. Yeah, jacaranda trees like that, Nicole. Yeah. I'm with you, Candy. That was one of my go-to stamps for many years. I started using other things, but not because of, I'd used, oak branch, when I used it for the 10,000th time, I thought, okay, it's, I'm going to spread things around and try some other things. But yeah, I used that oak branch. That's why I have it in nature set number 8. The oak branch and the cloud cumulus are in nature set number 8, and they're based around the Lakeside Cove Large, which is the most popular of all the kind of the main foundation images. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I started using other things in the foregrounds like that, but I still like that for the foliage. Okay, so you kind of see this, a little scenario here. To me, this scenario here, when you use these types of colors like this, even though, like I said, I showed you that that book, that photo book there. These things are out there, but, You know, you can look to kind of inspiration. Some of the best inspiration are from things like classic Disney animation, like Sleeping Beauty. Some of the even the latest ones, you know, like Maleficent, you know, the live action one, is really amazing. Those sets. It must be part digital and part. They probably do all the backgrounds in digital, but then the other scenarios, you know, where they're walking around through this um, set, you know, it looks really amazing. But I would really look to those types of things like that. Look up Sleeping Beauty and some of those really amazing backgrounds and whatnot. Just really fantastic. And I don't know, really inspiring. Okay, so dye-based inks and alcohol ink coloring over the top of it, okay? Let's see. Jacaranda trees. I think there was a bunch of jacaranda trees in Whittier in the city on the main street, and really fantastic. Yeah, I think I think the jacaranda was the tree that my dad saw. My dad got drafted in the Korean War, okay, like U.S. Army, right? And I think he was saying that when they were coming through back on a ship from overseas, they went through the Panama Canal. And I think he said, yeah, he saw jacarandas in Panama. I think it was jacarandas that he was referring to. Because for some reason in my head, I was picturing something purple, you know, those types of colors. And he said, yeah, he was really amazed with the colors of those trees. He grew up in Washington, so he wasn't seeing a lot of jacarandas, you know, Washington State. Okay, so I'm hitting this right here. When you have a building, a structure, one side, front side is like right in here, right? And then we have the top rows. I would try to go and make these three different sides a little bit of a different value, even if they're the same color scheme. Make each side a little bit different so that it looks more rounded in form. I try to work that into the designs themselves too, with a heavier like shading, like see on this side, then on this side, and then on this top part, it's even lighter. And then of course there's kind of shaded areas within the structures, within those sides, like under the eaves, I've made it even darker. But just in general, just kind of they call it where you're turning a form in space. In art, they're referring to making the illusion of the object look like it's turning, you know, it's dimensional, okay? And you can just do that by value, okay? Making certain things. So like this right here, and there's certain values in here. Maybe the darker ones I'll just, you know, retain for the darkest of areas, okay? Now, one of the things that's really nice about photo paper too, now I don't want this like just white up here. That's, you know, a little bit too boring. So I'm going to throw in, you know, a little bit of a, you know, some tone in there. And then this type of paper and surface that's coated and has that emulsion coating, you know, inks or dyes or whatever you're running through your color printer, it's staying mostly on the surface. So with these alcohol inks, I find that it stays largely surface oriented, and then you can kind of blend it out a little bit like this. Unlike, say, like a matte piece of paper or something like that, where it's really getting absorbed into there. So, oh yeah, oh my gosh. I was just thinking of some t-shirts, K goes way back in terms of stamping and the conventions. I used to do convention t-shirts for the different convention. I don't know if I did the conventions were 3 times a year. I don't think I did t-shirts 3 times a year. Or did I? It might have been. Maybe it was only twice a year back then. But yeah. Oh, I saw that comment on the New Hampshire and Vermont. I want to go there too. That whole area up there. But where was that comment? I just lost it. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Stamp the Hand convention shirts. I still have some of those ones here. Where can I buy a Stampscapes t-shirt? You don't have to buy it. Froggy Fresh, stamp your own. You have the stamps there, and you're super creative. Do something where, it'd be cool is if you do one of your whole railroad, kind of scenarios and do some sort of scene with that, like that nighttime one, and then I don't know, make a transfer or something like that. Don't stamp directly on the shirt, probably, for the best kind of results. Print it out or something like that. All right, so anyways, let's see. Let's get in here like this. See, I'm just kind of, these are really light tones, This is a dried pen right here. This is like a really super light color. Okay, so I start off with those really light tones like that. And then I work darker, then I go back into the lighter ones and kind of spread them around a little bit. But see, even in this rock right here, well, I don't want that brown on that rock. I'll go with some grays or something like that. But see, just like this, I'll just kind of add a little bit of it in there. It looks like something like this. Okay, I'm not going like this with the darker ones. I'm just kind of hitting it in a couple little areas like that. And then, some of these planks are a little bit darker than others. You can go in the wheel, in what do we call it? Spokes? I don't know. Is that what you call those areas, within there? Like that. And okay, I forgot. I don't know. It's been a while since we studied like I don't know, kind of old structures and stuff like that. But I don't know, whatever this box is. I was thinking it's a sluice box. It's not sluice box. I'm thinking the California Gold Rush that we had to study it, in fourth grade. I don't know, whatever that water, the water, whatever feed delivery thing right here is creating kind of shadows underneath here. So you can go with the darker tones underneath it like this, okay? But again, I'm just kind of doing it like this. I'm not coloring that whole thing. I think it looks a little bit better and kind of more rustic if you kind of hit it kind of in an irregular kind of application like that, and just go back in, kind of spread it around a little bit, blend it like that. The inks aren't blending quite as much as they would on, that Kodak paper or something like that, okay? But you can build these up pretty good. That's why I always kind of start really light and then work incrementally darker, okay? I just have more control over it that way, and I have less kind of incidents where you apply something that's like, oh my God, I don't like that. You know what I mean? And then you have to blend it out or something like that. I'd rather just kind of incrementally build up the tones where it's like, I always kind of make the analogy of instead of having your process be this, this dial that has like 50 steps on it or 20 steps on it or something like that, where it's like going from one step to the next, I change it to, a step that's 500 little clicks on there where it's just, just coming into focus in a nice gradual kind of easy fashion like this. See this right here? This is just a little bit darker than my previous color. You might not even be able to see what, this is doing on here because it's so subtle of a transition. But if you have those colors to do that with, it just makes it so much, less kind of temperamental of a process or whatever, precarious of a process, potentially. Okay, so here's gray. I'm putting this right over this other color. It's not going to look gray in some areas because I'm putting like the gray over the top of this one, So keep those kind of, intermediate types of things in mind and just kind of take your time to do those. I'd always recommend grabbing your pad, your ink pads and pens out like that and putting them in that kind of value kind of scheme, going from light to dark, so you know which one to go with next, and you can see the jump from one color to the next. And if it's a little bit more extreme, then you just have to kind of apply it a little bit more judiciously, or what, I don't know, whatever. Not judiciously, I don't know, whatever, gradually, whatever. Okay, so let's see. Let's come in here and let's bring some of these tones up here too, into these different areas, okay? Again, it's just a little bit of a gray, okay? It'll just kind of, I'm just kind of rendering things a little bit, you know, nice and slow. Oh, I completely forgot about this rock down here. So let's bring some of those tones, like from this rock. That's probably related to this type of rock in terms of whatever, geology. Oh, let's see. North Carolina versus Vermont, first 2 weeks of October. I love it. I wish I could. Around this time of year, I really do get this hankering for doing some sort of trip or travel. I used to go to the Eastern Sierras here in California because I can just drive to them, you know, in a few hours. You know, in Southern California, you can get to the Eastern Sierras, you can get to Yosemite and all that stuff. So I didn't do it every year, but there were a couple years in a row when I went to the Eastern Sierras where the aspens are, you know. But it was always that end of September, early October time period, you know, that I love out there too. When you go and look at those kind of fall colors too, you don't have the, you know, the summertime, you know, crowds either. So and then it's always like perfect weather too, right? So I just love going hiking around and sightseeing in that late September, early October time period too. You have all the trails to yourself and lodging, you know what I mean? Things like that. If that exists anywhere, you know, there's like all kind of natural kind of areas really have gotten really super popular and busy over this time of COVID too. So, you know, like national parks and stuff like that were just kind of like swamped with, you know, visitors, which is good for the, you know, which is good too. I want everyone going out and really enjoying those types of things too. And seeing these types of things. Sometimes I always worried about funding, you know, about not having enough people out there. Selfishly, though, it was really great. I tell people on this channel all the time, you know, people are like sick of it in these live streams, but just I was hiking Acadia and I had those trails to myself. I didn't see another soul on a trail for like an entire week. This is like years ago, but you know, there wouldn't be the case now, but it was amazing. It was scenic nirvana, you know, or hiking nirvana. Okay, see this right here? I'm kind of going back in and just kind of reiterating this whole idea, this kind of vignette thing. Now that I have these objects in here, we want to set them within the scene a little bit more, kind of in a solid way, you know, so you're giving them kind of a little bit more of a mass and visual weight by kind of anchoring them down a little bit more. See this little bit of shadow kind of coming in here like this. It just seems a little bit more kind of substantial now, right? You know, don't these objects look like they're sitting in the scene a little bit more now? So you're just kind of going in and you're reiterating kind of the shadow structures that are already on here. Here's the rock right here, you know, so see certain areas on the rock are left light, okay? Because they're light on the designs like this. See this lighter area right here? So I've just kind of, you know, in the impression, I'm going back and I'm coloring in and fleshing out these areas a little bit more so that they look a little bit more kind of three-dimensional. You're getting a little bit of glare here too because this is pearl. So this is like, you know, more of what this card or this scene looks like in person. I'm getting some glare too like this, but, you know. Anyway, so keep that in mind, you know, flesh your, you know, your imagery out with lighter tones and whatnot. Even if it's a really super light tone like this one right here, you can barely see, right? what is this? Like a beige here. Okay, so I'm just going in, I'm just kind of filling this in a little bit more. It just looks a little bit more substantial in terms of a dimensional object within that space right there. Let's go with some of this on these rocks right here too. Oh, let's go and let's put some of these. This will be a really good addition to some of these trees in here too. Okay. You guys have me daydreaming about fall foliage and jacarandas and whatnot. All right, so that is that. I don't know. I think it's looking okay so far, and we haven't even started with the paint pens, which are going to be kind of the dominant, I think, visual kind of pattern on here. What was that right there? Lap friends, whose turn it is to sit on your lap. That's fun. Oh, Cat. With Copics are the best. I find them, kind of pricey. I use the Le Plumes. They're a lot cheaper, and they were sent to me too. But I don't have all the colors I want in the Le Plume permanents, the alcohol markers. Okay, so I do have a set of, what was the name of it? I don't know, one of those cheap sets. I got like 88 double-sided alcohol markers for and it was like, I don't think it was even $40. It definitely wasn't $1 a pen, so it's like 50 cents a pen, right? But I don't know. Hey, they work for me. That's all I have to say. But that being said, I'm sure Copics are the best ones out there. But I'd rather have, I mean, if you're going to buy like a ton of those markers and a price into object, then by far, you get those, you can get the re-inkers for them for your favorite colors, right? But I'd rather have like 88 colors for $40 than like, I don't know, like at their highest price is like $5 a pen than like 8 colors. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? That being said, when I bought some pens, for my wife, for like a Christmas or whatever present, I got her Copics, I'm not going to get her the 88, the 50-cent pens, you know what I mean? I don't know if she's even using them, these days, but I got her those ones. Okay, but here's what I'd recommend for people. Let's say if you don't have any pens, any alcohol pens, why not just get a cheaper set, right? $2 or whatever. And then when you realize kind of what colors that you're tending to use the most, or whatever, then get those ones. It might be 10 pens or something like that. Get a Copic or something like that. Get the reinkers for them. Maybe the colors are a little bit better. Who knows, and I've been using alcohol pens though since the 1980s. Okay, I had the Studio 2 pens. Those were the only alcohol pens out there that we ever were aware of. Okay, I don't know if Copics were out there. If they were, they weren't being widely distributed. They definitely weren't in the US. Okay. The Studio 2 pens also came in a lot of different values. You can buy them in a whole range. They came in sets, and you can get them in 30% values, 20% values, 80%, whatever. Okay. And so my association with those things go really way, quite a ways back. And I don't know. Hey, like I said, I'm sure Copic is the best, but I don't know. I don't miss them. I don't miss using Copics. And I've used the Copics too, okay? And they're really fantastic. But for my usage, I don't know. I don't know if you'd be able to tell the difference. Or I don't know if I would be able to, okay? Let's see. Okay, so anyways, this was the tiny rocks. Okay, so this area down here had the same basic texture as the sky, right? So a lot of times what I like to do in areas surface and sky, unless you really want to make kind of a connection between the sky and surface being the same, then you can just keep it as is. Like I did a scene on a mirror scene the other day, I don't know, a couple weeks ago or something like that. It was real simple, just some kind of like, I think it was lakeside cabin or something like that, just in a field. So it almost looked like, sky and land were the same type of thing with this kind of hovering kind of on the surface like that. But I like to go for a little bit of a textural change like that down here. So I don't know, this whole area could just represent, water or something like that. I'm kind of toying around with the idea of adding in a little bit of bluish tinge around in this area right now too, just for a little bit of different change too. I haven't really experimented with certain types of things like that. Yeah, we're matching the this is called like method stamping, okay? Stamping by the method, like actors, they get into it. So whatever color scheme you're working with. Does anyone have like an orange shirt? When are you gonna stamp like orange tones like that? Nicole's talking about the northern hemisphere and autumn colors. If you have like a sweater with orange and browns in there, the scenes, when they did like a test, if you wore the colors that your color scheme that you're stamping in or painting or whatever, they tended to come out at like 10 to 15% better by doing that. Okay, let's see. Um, Lots on the hype on the Copics are just marketing. Well, yeah, it just Copics were the thing that they were like the pen that came into play, and Copics, um, they largely took the place of dye-based inks too. Okay, um, the Tombos, the La Plumes, those are the things. And, so a lot of times for good reason too, because the Copics are an alcohol pen, so you weren't, the reason why, like Stazons were originally conceived is because people were coloring with their Tombos and La Plumes dye-based markers, okay? So if you're going dye-based prints and then dye-based markers, there was a chance of them blurring out. So people found, people were largely stamping their imagery out with dye-based inks, okay? And then the Copics came along and it's like, okay, we don't have to worry about that smearing of the imagery when we're doing our colors. That was initially, one of those things like back then. I forgot what year Copics. I don't know. Does anyone remember what K or long time who's been stamped? When did Copics kind of come around? I remember I saw them. They came onto the scene like in a big way. I forgot there was one company that was going to be like the sole distributor or something like that, and they made an arrangement. But those Copics like, let's forget about that. We're really taking off. And then I saw for the first time like a Copic booth. I think it was at the HIA show. I don't think it was CHA yet. HIA hadn't merged with the ACCI or whatever merger of those kind of wholesale companies came around. But then I saw that Copic booth at one of those shows, and I thought, okay, there, I think we're going to see like this shift in many ways of how people have been coloring in stamping, and maybe not scrapbooking at that time. It was mostly in stamping at that time, so I don't know. Yeah, yeah. If someone here has spent, a huge fortune on investment, I should say, on your Copic markers, hey, they're the best, and you know, that's the way to go. If you don't have them, and you got these cheaper types of pens, they're all the same. I don't want to make people feel bad about, like I said, I think, Copics probably are, in terms of quality, you know what I mean? If we really did a very close test or something like that. And in certain types of applications where it's like, there is a very wide coverage of some alcohol ink type of thing, okay? Because those Copic markers have the re-inkers for them, that's a big thing. Like if you're coloring in like these big fields and you're doing tons of blending on there and stuff like that and transitions, then you probably want to have a re-inkable type of pen, and that's not like an insignificant type of feature on those types of things, so. Okay, so let's go in with a little bit of that bluish tinge that I was talking about. Let's see how this would look in here. I don't want to go too extreme though. Let's see. Let's go for, okay, so let's go for a little bit of a thicker ink. I'm not going to use, I was using the Marvies out here, but let's go for a little bit of a thicker ink in the form of the Memento. And Mementos are fairly dull in terms of, relatively speaking, in comparison to the, like the Marvie equivalent of this one, which is the number 10 blue, light blue. The Mementos are a little bit more subtle, like that. See that like that? You know what I mean? It looks like it's a much, more extreme, which you can get, with a stronger use, but I'm going with, more like that right there, okay? Let's see if I can get some of that in there in this water area. Oh, yeah, that looks great, I think. Okay. So let's go like this. You notice how I'm flipping this around to get that angle on the application that I'm going for. So I'm going from dark to light like that. So it's, this isn't as comfortable for me. So this is the way my hand naturally moves. It's going from dark to light, more ink to less, like that, okay? It's like you're sweeping it in like that. And then what you're doing is you're just flipping this around and coming it from this angle like that. I was just talking about, we're talking about ergonomics and things like that, for a lot of repetitive types of movements and whatnot. You want to go with the most ergonomic motion for whatever type of application that you happen to be doing, okay? So anyways, there's that right there. So we have that nice little kind of shimmery tone, but with a little tinge of color. And again, we're keeping it light like that. Remember the whole thing about kind of a lighting source in here? So here's this kind of this rounded type of thing. It's just kind of coming in like this, right? But we're just sweeping it in like this. Don't go like this with your application. Otherwise, it's going to be like light, and then that's hard line like that. So you're always kind of sweeping it in like that, okay? If you're going for that look. That doesn't look too bad down there. I wasn't going to put it up in the sky, but I think that looks pretty good. Like that. So maybe I'll put this in that grayish tinge up there. So that little blue looks a little bit better than just that plain grayish black, I think. So it gives it a little bit of a cooler grayish tinge like that. Okay, so I'm testing this too. When I'm doing this too, I'm testing for the more buildup that I put on this pearl paper, I'm finding that the applications are smoother because I've built up some media on the top of that surface. Okay, so I'm kind of going media on media here, as opposed to media directly on bare, whatever emulsion or whatever whatever type of coating is on this paper. So the Copics are 1980s. I didn't see Copics like at HIA or anything like that though. Back in those days though. I think that was more like in the 90s. Okay, I see. Originally released in 87. Yeah, because it was more like mid 90s, I think, when they really picked up steam in terms of popularity in the stamping crafting world or whatever. But I'm surprised they don't go back farther. But like I said, in like 1985 or 80, no, it might have been about 87, that Studio 2 domestically had all those alcohol inks. And I bought it as an alternative to the design styles of pens like Ad markers, and I think another line of markers were Design. They were called Design, that brand that had that super smelly kind of xylene smell in them. It was just too powerful. And I wasn't a design student, I was an illustration student, so I didn't need those comp markers that they all use to do their industrial design types of looks. Okay, so I'm going in with the 3mm pens, and I'm going into my trees here to give them more of that shimmer and light. So this is a little bit lighter. It's a fairly dark dot, but it's still a little bit lighter than some of the colors of the impression. So I'm going with that first. I'm kind of clustering these. Okay, it's not like, again, I'm not doing this kind of 1/4 inch type of separation. It's like, I'm condensing it like that, and I'm going like this to make it a little bit more irregular, okay? Or varied, I guess I could say. All right. So that is that. You probably can't even see what I've done there. A little bit down here, right? Azure blue. I love it. Australian skies, that's the color of it, huh? Copics made in Japan. 87. Yeah, manga artists. Right. Did you stamping with meth? What was that comment about Froggy Fresh? Is that what did I don't know, did other people hear that too? We're definitely not stamping with meth. Yeah. And definitely not the blue meth from Breaking Bad. Okay, so adding some of this up here in the trees too. I'm not going to go too much up here though, because this would be a dark dot over kind of a lighter one. And then what I'm trying to do is I want these trees to get built out, okay, from the background, like in a more kind of a 3-dimensional kind of build. So again, I've mentioned this in the past videos, streams, or whatever, with transparent media, dye-based inks, alcohol inks. What else is transparent? Yeah, basically those two. I guess solvent inks, but I don't have a bunch of colored solvent inks like StazOn. I work from light to dark usually. Now, with the alcohol inks, I went back in and I toned in a little bit more with the lighter inks back over the darker ones to blend them out. I need to render that mill a little bit more. It's a little anemic. I'll go in there with some additional brown tones or something like that. It looks really anemic like that because I have so much of that shimmer kind of glaring off of that. But again, it looks more like this, without that glare on there. But I guess if we are stamping on this type of thing, we do need to compensate for that glare, because that's what people are going to be seeing, right? Okay, so a lighter tone like this. The Memento Blue looked great, huh? It added that nice little touch to it. And it blended. Okay, so the Memento inks are thicker inks than the Marvy inks, okay? So Memento, basically any other markers or inks other than Marvy are going to be thicker inks so that the viscosity is thicker, so it probably spreads easier on this type of paper that's going to be grabbing and drying the inks faster, okay? So just keep that in mind. When you swipe across, do you start at the edge of the paper? Yeah. My edges were starting to get ragged. Okay, when you're going with the edge, that's a good question here. See this right here? When I'm going with the edge like this, I'm not pressing down like at all. It's like the weight of my finger pressure, okay? And then I just go like that. So I'm starting off the page. You can see where I'm kind of starting off, okay? But just like this, okay? So, I always make this analogy right here. Imagine you are applying this ink, which you would never do, but imagine you're doing it on like you're getting some like a 2-year-old ready to go out on, Halloween night or something like that. And there's some kind of like makeup that you're putting on their face. You're using that amount of pressure on there. Okay. Because if you press too hard, kid's going to, they're going to cry. So don't make your pearl paper cry like that. So, you know what I mean? So it's not going to get ragged at all, because I'm never catching that so hard. It's just, you're starting it like on the paper too, like this. You know what I mean? So you don't start off completely and then engage that. You're already on the paper and you're just going like that. Okay. Just use it really lightly. Some people say, hey, I have a too hard of a touch or something like that. But all you have to do, don't practice like that. Just practice like this right here. Just go on your piece of paper like this. Okay. And there's like no pressure that I'm applying this at all. Now this is dry on here, but I was doing it right here, but just get your amount of saturation like that through repetition as opposed to pressure, okay? And then like I said, it happens more gradually too, and you have a lot more control over it that way too. Especially if you like, for me, I was going, really lightly on this one because I didn't know how fast the, that emulsion was going to be grabbing my ink off of the applicator. It turns out the Memento is really great for that. All right, so let's see, adding this in like so. This is a lighter value, so it's going to stand out against my impressions quite a bit more. So, just kind of be aware of how these applications are looking on your piece. Kind of hold it at arm's distance like that. When you're doing these types of small types of detailing like this, we tend to be focusing in on like a 1 inch by 1 inch area, okay? And then we're focusing, like, we have tunnel vision when we're doing this type of activity like this, okay? But you want to hold it out and see what those, colors are looking like, or, whatever that media is. In this case, the value of light against dark, in a darker area, that dot is going to stand out much more visibly, right, than in the lighter areas. So just kind of be aware of those types of things by checking it out. Hello, Crystal Fire. Good to see you. Let's see here. Did I not answer? It is a very lightweight paper, Candy. It's printer paper. I'm finding the printer papers are very thin, like these vinyl sticker papers are really thin. It's because they got to work through the gears of your inkjet printers, and make it around, all those different angles and whatnot. So they are it is very thin. It's thinner than cardstock. It's probably, this one, if I were to relate it to something, I would say that it's probably the equivalent of like a 70 or 80 pound paper. And if it was in the point size, maybe a 6 or 8 point or something like that. Yeah. Let's see. It does, Crystal Fire. We came up with a rule a couple videos ago that we can only stamp our color scheme in whatever colors we're wearing, right? Someone in the the chat window came up with that rule for me. And there was a second on it, so we had to go with it. I said, so all my scenes are going to be black from now on then, you know? All right, so adding this in like so. I'm trying to remember if I've done the oak branch before in, you know, violet purples and whatnot before. I don't remember if I have. I hardly ever do kind of purple schemes. At least I don't remember doing that a whole lot. All right. So Crystal Fire, we're doing. I'm doing something in the spirit of this type of scenario right here. I don't know where that location is, but it looks amazing to me. Okay, so now here's the thing. Okay, so I didn't stamp out those trees in the background in color, but this is where we're going to add in some color now to them. Okay. Yeah, Kay, I'm with you. For now on, in the next 10 scenes everyone does, you're not allowed to do anything but purple trees. How's that? Hello, Donna. Thanks for joining in to the purple menagerie. All right, so see this little kind of, we're building up these tones like this. I don't know, it tones the values, okay? So, let's see that here too. Okay, so we're at this point right now where we've gone light enough. See those lighter tones like that? Those are the same dots that I've already applied in here, just to come to show you that these acrylic paint pens, when they dry, they get more translucent to moving towards transparency. Okay, so they become darker if you're adding them over, a darker tone in the background. Okay, so keep that in mind. They might look a little bit crazy if you just apply them in some areas, but if you're applying them over water-based media, i.e. the dye-based inks and other layers of acrylic, right, that are water-based, they will merge in with the background and harmonize with them a little bit more. I say harmonize because that's a good way to say that they just blend in with the background. But sometimes, I really want to go for some additional shimmer where it's really, these are really kind of more dimensional like that. So this is one thing I don't like about these pens. There was another brand that I'm using, the Lan Ren Wang, okay, or whatever. And those ones on their descriptions say more, I don't know if they say more pigment, but the paint, I guess it's the pigment or whatever. The colors are more dense. Okay, when I'm doing this right here, it doesn't feel like it's a watery type of application, but it obviously is if you're using them over certain things because they blend in like that. So sometimes I want to go for more opacity, but I just have to keep building it up more and more. Or you can go all the way to white if you want kind of a lighter purple because the white will be translucent. Okay. Now some of these, like these are the 0.7mm Artistros, and I think these ones stand out a little bit more against that background than this, this very inexpensive set of the Emokis or whatever. I don't know how you pronounce that. So I'll add in some of these right here. I thought, okay, sometimes I'm a little hesitant to do this on this live stream because, watching someone add, 5,000 dots onto a scene, not the most engaging viewing. Not that any of this is, but you know, with these dots, and then I'm not even sure if you're able to see it, you know, on your on your screens there too. But I don't know. I found that this I don't know, it went relatively quickly like this. You know, I think at the most I was able to do 1,237 dots per minute when timed. Remember that whole thing when typing classes and stuff like that, they timed you, you know? How many words, it was words per minute, huh? Yeah, jacaranda trees, right. We were just talking about the jacarandas earlier. Okay, so here's some the brighter pinks, okay, and we're gonna add this in there. I really want some of that. I don't want to go crazy. I'm not, you know, going for like full coverage on these trees. You see that pinkish tinge right there? So hopefully, but that, again, this is, you know, it's going to merge in a little bit more, but look at that much brighter pink in there, okay? So again, it's supposed to kind of represent, when you're going lighter on darker, it's supposed to represent kind of the lighting hitting. In this case, the trees here. But look how much more dimensional it looks like that, huh? And see, it gets darker down here, so maybe I'll do less. I'll kind of just taper it off like that, where there's not so much of that down there. Okay, that, like I said, it didn't take too long, because you're not adding it everywhere. You know, I pray that I don't have to redo this thing on there too many times, though, to build it up. So it's the thing that makes it, you know, kind of harmonize with the background, is also the thing that kind of requires, you know, a little bit more repetition in terms of coverage. Okay, but see, look, see that tree looks so much more dimensional now. But look at that, it's lighter there than it is in here, so it's drying out a little bit. But you know, we'll build up to a lighter tone in there too. Thank you, Nicole. Dot speed. We're gonna have a contest sometime, and you know, it's going to have to be on the honor system, but I'll time you guys and see how many dots you get, you know, in 1 minute, you know, when you end up all of your, like, counting up the dots that you did. Or maybe you're just counting out loud as you're doing this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You know, these trees like this, these purple trees like this, we were talking about that kind of that Halloween type of, you know, color scheme of the purples and oranges. You can probably do something with these purple trees like this in a Halloween type of setting, you know. It's, you know, it's one of those more kind of playful looking Halloween settings with that purple and orange color scenario. But you know, I think it would probably be pretty cool to have these orangish trees in like like an orange moon or something like that. Like an orange full moon would be kind of cool. Like I'm looking at these trees right here, kind of in that haze up there. You know, I think that would be kind of cool to have this kind of this orangish horizon or something like that, with a moon rising off the horizon or something of that, you know, kind of scenario. Or you can do something kind of more representative. It doesn't have to be like any type of Halloween imagery, but you can do the like purples, like I said, like a glow on the horizon that's orange, you know, ish. I did that with a winter scene a couple of years ago. I did this um, Northern Lights type of thing, but it was like the curtain type of things where one side was kind of green and one side was red. You know, those glows like that. So that was like a Halloween, you know, I mean, a Christmas, you know, like a color scheme like that. All right, so adding this pink in these trees like that, those trees are starting to get rendered out pretty good. I have these green ones in here too, so I'll have to add in some greens into those areas like that. A little bit more of a kind of a warmish, not wormish, warm-ish. let's see. That one's a little bit more red. It's a pretty bright color though, so it looks pretty good in here. And I'll use this one a little bit more sparse. Again, this one's darker too. Let's see. I don't want to use too much of this one right here because I'll be covering a lot of this up too, so. Orange moons, bushfire moons. Oh, yeah. I love that orangish moon, especially if it's like on the horizon. I I have some kind of moments of seeing that orangish colored moon, like ingrained in my memory whenever I've seen that. That would be a good one there. Yeah, pink flocked Christmas tree. I haven't seen that done in like a Christmas card, I don't think. But I think that would look pretty cool. Your dots are much slower, Jeannie, huh? Well, you should go to one of those like when it's offered like an acrylic dotting workshop or something like that, where they had us doing like this kind of without any pen in hand, just to get the movement going, and then we visualized it. I'm joking. I was just watching like one of those like high school basketball types of movies. They always have some coach going in there and like teaching the fundamentals. Okay, we're not going to do any shooting, Now just pretend you're bouncing the ball and then pass it, to the teammate. When I'm doing this type of thing with these dots like this, I don't know. I imagine it's like a sewing machine or something like that, moving that needle down, like this. And again, when you're doing these dots too, not joking here, but you move this into an area that's going to be the most conducive for that application of tones. So I'm not going out here and reaching up here and doing this. I mean, sometimes I am, if I'm just going a couple little things, but I'm a decent amount, then move this into, the range of your hand where it's going to be applying in its natural motion. So my hands are like this, right? But those ergonomic keyboards kind of went in like this a little bit, right? So this is where my hand just kind of naturally goes to. And you can move it around like this, or if I am moving it, a little bit, it's just a little bit of movement, but it's the same type of repetitive movement like this, so, right? And keep it nice and light. And one of the things is too, I was mentioning someone, one of the things that is good to do, especially if you're not kind of used to using a certain type of movement, but it's good to do it anyway, even if you don't, or you're doing something that you've done a lot, but you stretch out your hands, before, during, and after any type of activity. What I like to do is I grab my fingers like this, and I'm always stretching them out like this, like when I'm watching TV too. I'm always doing this type of thing. And then a lot of times I take my hand, my wrist, and I bend it this way. This is what we learned in Aikido back in the day. Your wrist like this, and then I always kind of massage my palm like this on both hands. But you keep it nice and limber like that, okay? But again, just be aware of kind of your application process and movement during every step of the way, and it's going to be a good thing. Yeah, Bad Moon Rising. We just watched American Werewolf in London, where that song was so prominent. I love that song. Dot shop. We'll have a dot workshop, on a Zoom sometime. So I'm gonna have like a little stopwatch or something like this, or stopwatch, and I'll say, everyone, okay, start, And then we'll do it where we're kind of working in a certain type of little area like this, and then we'll work it larger and dissipate it. Or have when you're putting on your dots, if you need some kind of music going, I guess it'd have to be some kind of like faster song or something like that, where you're dotting to, you're to the beat, right? What song this would be, I have no idea. Nothing comes to mind. Um, was that Flight of the Bumblebee? Maybe. Don't do something like the Christmas is coming up. Maybe not the Nutcracker. Was that dance the sugar? You know what I mean? You'd probably get you get whatever 50 dots laid down or something like that in a minute. All right, so that is that. We're getting a little bit more shimmery and vol depth in our pieces right there. Okay, now if I only had 3 pens or something like that, I'd be fine with that. But see, we're going for some of this like type of scenario right here. You know what I mean? I mean, that's we're not going to replicate a photograph or something like that. And I don't have some of these colors like that, but getting the dimension in there, I don't know. It's kind of getting there a little bit. We can only do what we can do. Um, A tattoo pen. Oh yeah. Popcorn. Yeah, the popcorn music. I forgot all about that one. Um, I think I printed out that sheet music for my son when he was playing piano at some point in time. He liked that song. The Benny Hill music, yeah. Yakety Sax, that one. Huh. That's one that song is called. Or what you can do is you can just kind of take your favorite song and just like speed it up like 3 times or something like that. Remember in the days of vinyl and record players, you take that for the 33 album and then you put it at that 45 speed and play it like that. And let's see, what colors are faster? Red, huh? Red's like a faster looking color than like a super mellow gray, so you should you know, wear the appropriate clothes, so you can get into the spirit of it a little bit more. I'm adding some of this kind of warmer tinge because I looked at that photograph down there and I thought, there's some of those warmer tones in there too. And this is also lighter. It's like beige here, so it's kind of, you know, blending in there kind of nicely. And the beige too, I can use it on some of these rocks. What bothers me is that you guys are kind of looking at this washed out looking, like these, with all that glare in there with this pearl. But again, it looks like this. So it's a little bit more rich than like washed out like that. Oh, look at this. We got spammed again. Look at it. Yay. My lives are so, popular, that I got the honor of getting spammed. Yeah, I don't know. People report that. It's kind of irritating, though. How does that happen? Are those like robots or something going around? It can't be a person just searching for like live streams. And this is like a super kind of niche channel, too. You know what I mean? Scenic stamping on pearl paper. Some trolls. I can't imagine it's like humans. doing that and copying and pasting into the the channel or so, it would seem strange. It seems a whole lot of work, and it's like, you know, how many people are clicking on that type of thing, to make it worth their time? I guess some people, because it keeps happening, huh? Or every time I post like a video too, you know, that the same types of messages are getting, posted into the comments. All right, so those pinks and purples like this. I'm spending a lot of time on here because this scene is really about kind of that that look, I guess, that we're going after right here. I want to see if I can do it first of all. I didn't know what this would look like in terms of trying to get somewhat closer to that. A mulberry color. Yeah, we're limited a little bit with the things like that. Yeah, red pens. Yeah, red pens fast. What would be the slowest ones then? Some kind of cool color or something like that, rather than like red and kind of a Porsche red or whatever. Yeah, the troll there. Maybe I'm doing the trolling there, because it makes it look like you know, a more popular, whatever. Okay, but yeah, like I said, trying to go for those kind of those shimmery types of transitions in tones. So see that's, I got up to that beige there. It looks like the beige is staying lighter too to me, and I think it's because I've built up more of the acrylic paint on there. Maybe, I don't know. Looks like the colors are kind of a little more like that right in there, huh? Like that, blended in. I don't have that magenta-y looking hot pink in there though, you know. Maybe I toned in too much of it, or maybe we lost a lot of that pink through that translucency type of thing. But it would be a little bit better if we kind of add a little bit more. I want the brighter tinge in there. Yeah, baby blue would probably be like the slowest, huh? Looking color. I think red, what is it? Red has the shortest wavelength. I wonder what color has the longest wavelength? It's probably blue, huh? We learned some of these types of things. I don't remember where. I think it was in color theory, like in my beginning design class, when we were talking about wavelengths. I think it was, because that's where we learned about like analogous colors and complementary colors next to each other in terms of color glows and color vibrations and things like that. And that's where it's like learned why, like warning signs were in black against yellow, and like stop signs are red and white, typically, domestically at least. I don't know everywhere in the world, but just plain contrasts and things like that against one another and whatnot. Froggy Fresh, what is happening there with a Chinese hairpin? Good night, Donna. All right, so that is that. So, okay, so those are the pinks. Now we have the greens to go. I'm not going to go crazy with these greens here, but we need to kind of, get some of those textures into these other areas. I need to use some of the paint pens on these other objects, otherwise it's going to look, completely unrelated. But we're not going to go crazy with this one, First of all, I don't want to. And the second reason is I don't think we need to go into those trees too much. And plus, I don't want like just this vibrating kind of surface with similar textures on everything either, okay? All right. Indigo or violet. Oh, for the longest wavelength, huh? I could see that, yeah. I tend to, for me, my favorite colors have always been kind of the cool tones and darker, so they're probably the longer wavelengths and whatnot. So when I'm using things like that, I really like using like the warmer, like fall tones lately. And purple used to be my favorite color by far growing up as a, like a little kid. I've always mentioned my purple crayon was gone, the fastest. And the purple and the gold and silver. No, was there a gold crayon? I think it's silver crayon, just because it was so cool. Look at this. I haven't even used green before. This darker green. But yeah, I'm probably drawn more to the cooler spectrum just in general. Turquoises and stuff like that. Blues, deep blues, almost black blues. 3 different values of green, okay. Dark. I wouldn't call that a medium green, and then a light green, okay. And I think these will harmonize pretty well with these types of colors, right? All right, let's see here. You need some dot pens, huh? Well, you have a pretty good choice of them out there these days, okay? That's the good thing about it. Okay, so these ones are the 0.7 millimeter pens. There's a lot of different brands of these pens out there too. And in really great, to me, affordable sets, because, we all use those early like gel pens and stuff like that. I love gel pens these days too. Don't get me wrong, but the paint pens, they just work better, okay, over different types of surfaces. If I only had those newer types of sets of gel pens and these weren't available, I'd be using them and I'd be happy about it. But these because I don't have to have a roller type of mechanism where they're potentially, rolling in media into that ball. And then I always have to kind of scribble it out, which I do with these ones too. Sometimes if I'm going over certain types of media and it gets clogged up in there, like if I'm going with a pen over like pigment ink or something like that, sometimes it builds up a little bit and I have to kind of get that out of there. Just with a little bit of scribble or something like that. But these ones feed really nicely. And one of the things about paint pens too, acrylic paint pens, they usually say it on the packaging, but they pretty much write on just about any type of surface. So they talk about things like glass, plastic. I mean, definitely paper. That goes without saying. The one thing about one of the packs that was kind of interesting that I saw was, it has these little icons for little, whatever it works on. So it was like glass, metal, plastic. And not the 7 millimeter, but the 0.7 millimeter, but the 3 millimeter ones said rocks. But on one of these things, it said skin. And I'm not joking about this one. I'm thinking, all right, so why would anyone be using the acrylic paint pen on their skin? Temporary tattoo or something like that? Maybe they were just saying that it's non-toxic, that aspect of it. I don't know, but I thought that's kind of weird. Oh, yeah. Posca. Posca's the one with the. Posca's probably the name brand pen in the acrylic paint pen world, I'm guessing. And these paint pens too these days, the great thing about these paint pens too is they come in so many different forms. So there's the pearl looking paint pens. There's the metallics. I don't think there's a glitter acrylic paint pen, or I haven't seen it if there are, but there's just so many different types, which are really fun to use. Okay, so this is the medium one. Okay, the medium one is not that much of a difference than the previous one, so this is going to be pointless right here. And not pointless, but, for all intents and purposes, you're not going to be able to see it. So let's go to the lightest one here. Okay, so just keep a. Oh, Debbie, yeah, Debbie beat me to the punch there with the metallics and colors. Yeah, Froggy Fresh's sensei wants them to practice the katana blade instead of the bow staff and karate staff in karate class. Huh. Just wear like a football, padding and all that type of stuff. You know, uh, like an all-around helmet, not just the front mask, on that like that. And then maybe wear like a fencing equipment too. Red is the longest. Oh, I thought red was the shortest wave. So I have that flipped around then, huh? Okay, I have that flipped around. Somewhere in my head, I thought I was thinking the opposite of that. Okay, thank you for that. My year fives would use them on their skin. Well, why not? If it's on the package, that the kids are reading the instructions. Then. Okay, so going in with the lighter tones. Hopefully you can see that little bit right there. A little bit of a change in values right there. So we're giving some dimension to these green trees as well. I don't want these green trees to look, like completely light or anything like that. So sometimes it's like on the edges, of them. I'll put a little bit of a lighter tinge where they're capturing some of that light. I love the looks on these paint pens the other day when I was doing some black impressions of these trees on that silver paper. And I just put these little tinges of these colors on that, which I thought was really dramatic. Hard to see in this, these live streams in this video like this, but up close, just that little bit of color around on the edges really stood out against that silver cardstock. It was really pretty cool. I want to do a whole card scenario like that sometime. Simple process too, just stamping out, just with the imagery in stays on black, and then just putting a few little dots like this, little accent colors on there. But you see that, a little bit of lighter tone like that. I'm usually doing like the interior lighting like this, where I have the light coming from here, so the trees to the right of center are getting left side illuminated like that. Okay. For the most part, I have, some areas that are colored out, in different areas too, but and the trees over on to the left side are getting right side illumination like so, like this. This is a pretty big card too, I have a lot of dots going down, but like I said, I wanted to really experiment. I wanted to really see, when I'm doing an experiment like this, I do things in like full force. Maybe it's not a good idea. Boy, that looks really dimensional, doesn't it? Huh. See, I'm looking at it with a little bit of a glare too, but holding it up like this, that looks really dimensional down here. Huh. Okay. I'm talking about these pens like that. These pens are really getting built up like this. I'm going kind of crazy with this, but yeah. I hope that, knowing all these dots like this, I'm hoping not talking, like people out of doing this paint pen scenario like this. It's like, all right, Kevin, we're on hour number 10 here. What was kind of interesting at first is now, a little bit. VersaFine Clair dry on the semi-gloss paper. VersaFine Clair on the semi-gloss paper. It should. What semi-gloss paper though, Candy? What type of semi-gloss? Like semi-gloss photo paper or semi-gloss like cardstock? That might make a difference in terms of, it just depends how non-porous the papers are. I was shocked that the VersaFine Clair dried, all right, I already lost it again, but it dried on the holographic printable vinyl sticker paper. It's that emulsion coating where my VersaFine Clair never dried on the old, this type of paper. Okay. I thought it would, but it never did. At least with I don't know, one of the scenes that I did, not, I don't know, it was probably a couple of years ago. It was sitting on the floor. I picked it up like a couple of weeks later, and it was like I could still smear it. It didn't dry like within 2 weeks. You might be able to add like a spray sealant over the top of it, and maybe that would help to kind of initiate drying. I don't know, but it depends on what what semi gloss that would be. Oh, the photo paper. I don't know. You would have to test it out. I don't know if every brand of paper is going to act the same either. I am taking a wild guess that if it's something like a lot of these papers like these that I'm trying out these days. Okay, this is You Ink It holographic photo paper right here. Vinyls, okay. I think, yeah, these are both sticker. This one's a sticker right here. All right. I wouldn't be, oh, here it is right here. I wouldn't be surprised if they are all coming out of the same factory there. Just these different companies just brand it, or they buy it and package up, or they put in their specific, kind of color schemes or whatever that they want to package together. I wouldn't be surprised if it's coming out of one factory even. I was made aware of that type of manufacturing that's going on these days when I used to do a lot of hiking and camping and stuff like that. And I was into buying like light packing gear and everything like that. And I talked with this one seller one time. I think they were out of Colorado. I was looking for this one tent. And the tent footprint was, see, this Clair dried on here just fine, and he told me that this is like 20 years ago too. He said all tent brands and everything like that, outdoor stuff, it's coming out of one factory. And what these manufacturers do, which are really not manufacturing them anymore, they're just branding. They're having this other company manufacture it now. And they put in all their orders like a year and a half in advance. So if you're working with a U.S. company, Marmot or whatever, that makes that sells these or brands these tents, if they run out of something, they're just not, they can't just reorder now the footprints for them, that go with the tent. It's like they're out of luck, because, the order that they have in that they're selling currently was ordered, whatever, 2 years ago or something like that. That company just makes all of those things up at like one time. Okay. And I have a feeling that's going on with papers and things like that nowadays too. But then I'm just guessing though, but I wouldn't doubt that if one brand of whatever type of paper works with certain types of inks, then another one would as well. Okay. But yeah, always pays to test out. Of course, unless you want to know that before you purchase, though, But just know that photo papers and cardstock versions, are going to be very different, though, in terms of their surfaces. Some of them might be compatible with certain types of media, and some of them might be very incompatible with certain media combinations. Okay, this is the white that I'm using, by the way. So it's kind of coming around a little bit more. I didn't use it up here yet, too. We're going for a lot of kind of similar types of... this is definitely a repetition of texture going throughout this scene, and I usually don't have so much of the same texture. But again, I'm being kind of, trying something new in the spirit of that photograph there. So, all right. So, see, some of this white is, let's see, let's edit this tree like so. Okay, let's see. Okay, so yeah, so again, I mean, this almost becomes like just pattern or something like that. When you see these types of, it's almost like a photograph as a abstract or something like that. In terms of a service. So we're going for a little bit of a just, if we looked at something like this, it becomes just, a repetition of kind of a dot pattern or something like that. I mean, this is figurative. We can see objects in there and stuff like that. But, just in terms of these smaller little areas like that, it's just common texture or whatnot. What is that about the tornado there? Is someone going to stamp a tornado scene? Did someone stamp a tornado scene on the Facebook group? Is Linda still in here? Someone did. There were some interesting weather types of thing. Jeannie, of course, always does. Jeannie, you should be. You need to do the tornado. You've always done those kind of like some of your pieces like could be in like the eye of the tornado, not moving at like 100 miles an hour or something like that. But you have definitely some scenes where it looks like I don't know, 40-mile-an-hour winds. Oh, hey, Kevin, Stamper of Light. With the Thomas Kincaid, yeah, yeah. We're gonna have a like a a workshop coming up uh, where you too can be a stamper of light. It'll feature the paint pens, paint pen work. And in the class, I'll say something like, okay, it's been if you go between if you apply between like say 50 and 200 dots, that's like a C, okay? 200 to 1,000 is a B. And if you get, anything over 1,000 dots, you get an A for the class. How's that? In my workshops, by the way, we do the, the end of a workshop quiz, both the multiple choice and essay. So, just keep that in mind if you ever take one of my workshops. Don't do that. I don't know. Someone's thinking that I'm serious here. And you need your remember to bring your number two pens. Have your number two pencils ready to go to for the Scantron. All right, so adding a little bit of this tone in here, we want to get a little bit of paint on everything, okay, to make it kind of stand out. Like, see these like little opportunities like this. See these little rungs on here, okay? I mean, those are nice little features. Like this ribbing in here. This reminds me of that, like a wooden trestle, And is Adelita still in here? Froggy Fresh, or did she leave? But doing those little trestle types of thing. But see this, you can kind of like bring those types of features out a little bit more. Because we couldn't work around them with like pens and stuff like that. It'd be too much of hassle. So the thing about these paint pens is you can go back in and just redefine those types of features. And it's good that this pen is a little bit more translucent because you can see the things in there. No, Kay, it's going to be it'll have to be on the honor system. People are going to send me in their pieces, and I'm going to count those things, and then your grades will be in the mail. Hello, Bugs. Good to see you. We're discussing grading for the workshops, and in correlation to the amount of dots someone applies into their scenes. There's a direct correlation between the number of dots and the resolution of a finished piece. Yeah, so when we're going over it, like in the workshops, I'll bring it up if it's going to be on the test. I always appreciated that when I was in school, like in college, if some teacher would be so kind in their lecture, if they would point out, by the way, okay, now take notes on this. This is going to be on the test. So on this one right here, like those little things where you go to like a fair and there's like a gumball machine or something like that, and you're supposed to like, or marbles or something like that in a jar, and you're supposed to like, I don't know, whatever, the county fair or something like that, and you're supposed to count the number of, or guess the number of whatever's in a jar or something like that to win, a new, whatever, jacuzzi. That will be the contest for this original piece right here. Whoever guesses the number of dots that I've applied on this scene when complete wins this, card. And we can do this if someone that's watching here is willing to go back and like play this like at a quarter speed or whatever, 1/16 speed, and count the number of applications that I've laid down on here, then we can have this contest here. We might need a couple people to do that though, because inevitably, when you can, there's going to be probably some discrepancies, I'm guessing, in terms of the overall count. Someone's logging into these things, and thinking, this whole thing's like serious, logging into this video for the first time, or channel. Okay, so this is what this is looking like right here. I'm going a little bit nuts, but it's like with every little layer that I'm kind of putting down here, it looks a little bit more dimensional to me. Okay, so we're looking at the pearl thing too, okay? And one of the things that's, goodbye, Froggy. One of the things about this one here is I think Donna's going to bed. Good night, everyone. But here's the thing right here. We're looking at this kind of more reflective quality in here, and, we're deciding if, stamping it on the pearl is beneficial as opposed to just doing this on a piece of white paper. So, when I'm holding this up and taking a look at this, I mean, there is a different sheen to this, definitely, and especially in person too, because that iridescence or that reflective quality is really shining through there. It's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if this paper, as opposed to, well, here's the white piece of paper like this, I wouldn't be surprised if this is reflecting back to us. I don't know, what would you guys say? Like 3 times the light? Definitely twice, right? Coming off of those illuminated areas, meaning the areas that I didn't cover up, meaning sky and open water right in here. I mean, again, we can put a few more little details in there or something like that, but I don't know. I think it adds to it, I think, a little bit, rather than have it being on white. The one thing about the white, though, I think the white looks really good when we add in little touches with white pigment ink, because the white pigment ink blends in with a white surface better than it would with a shimmery, silvery surface, okay? Like if I wanted to add in a little bit of like mist or something like that in here. I'm kind of tempted to do that, but on the other one that I did the other day, I think If I added white down over the top of this in the form of, pigment inks, it blocked off that reflective surface, so I'm not so sure if that's kind of a good idea to do. Even though, that being said, the Brilliance inks, this white right here, it does have a little bit of shimmer. That's why this, this pad, this case right here, I don't know if you can tell, but that's like different. They didn't put it in this white one right here. They put it in this kind of little iridescent one because this Brilliance inks have a little bit of a kind of, they have a little bit of that shimmery kind of touch to them. So, I'm with you, Nicole. I think that, this pearl paper, it has its, I don't know, kind of benefits. I wouldn't call it better or anything like that than white. In terms of the surface quality of it, in terms of the application quality of certain types of things, maybe this in comparison to like something like a matte paper, maybe like that Memento really blended in just really super easy for me on top of this surface like this, so. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to bring in some of this into some of these areas, okay? So let's see this. I'm kind of wondering what I should matte this. I'm going to matte, this paper. I'm going to mount it on something, so I'm not sure what I'll do that in. Okay, so anyways, 100% cotton ball here. Kind of smash it down so you're not working with this frayed, type of applicator, right? You can have a little bit soft, but, and again, you want this to be fairly dry on here when you start applying it down there so that you don't get these big kind of blobs of thick paint on there, okay? At least for this look, this more foggier type of look in here, okay? So just going over this like this. And I'll add it here and there. I just want to kind of add a little bit of a change to some of these objects in certain areas. Okay, so you see that right there? There's a little bit of this mist and fog. And again, you're seeing this glare over the top of this. This looks a lot darker like that, okay? So this is going to kind of blend in the imagery a little bit more too. And see this right here? That's a little bit of a harsher kind of transition right there between that rock right there and that mill. This is really dark down here, so I'm not quite sure where to put it in there. Maybe I'll add it up in the lighter area like this, like some fog is kind of creeping in like this. So the areas where I look for opportunities to apply this are in the areas that are a little bit, there's a little bit of a lighter thing down there. If I applied it right here, it would really stand out. I mean, what you could do, but you just kind of have to build it up a little bit slower. Even these areas in between the pink trees and the green trees too, you can add a little of this in here just to kind of soften up that transition a little bit more and to make it look a little, oh, that was a big glob right there, like in one fell swoop, but I won't build that up anymore. I'll just leave it like that. Okay, see this kind of lighter area in here. Let me show you this like that. Okay. Let's put a little bit down here where this is like lighter right here. I won't go into that again. I want that to shimmer like that. So I'll just put the foot of the mill in a little bit of this hazy mist. I'm kind of going against, kind of this anchoring. I made it darker down there, but a lot of times I add in some mist over the top of it. So it's like I went dark, but then I'm going lighter on top of it, but I still have that shadow running across in there. So it wasn't as if, it's not the same as just never having that darker thing in there, okay? It's still kind of related to that mark in there. Normally where I'm adding this in this area, but then again, see if I add this white in here, it's going to block off that shimmer right in there. So I learned, in that last piece to, maybe not add that into those areas. Okay, knocking that tree back a little bit. It's already lighter, but you can already kind of make it look purposely lighter with a little of this pigment and ink in there. So sometimes things happen inadvertently, okay? Like that tree. I mean, it's a little bit darker, like I said, but that tree didn't stamp out too dark. So I'm putting some white over the top of it just so it looks like farther back in the distance anyways, okay? So it looks a little bit more purposeful, and you're reiterating the thing that makes it kind of work a little bit better in terms of it looking lighter and thus farther back like that. You know, this one's darker and it looks like that tree's in back of it, but I'll blend that in a little bit more like so. I'm kind of debating on whether or not I want a little bit of that down here too. Let's put a little bit down and see what it looks like, okay? So remember, the sides of the trees on the right side of the scene are a little bit right side illuminated, right? So I'm putting a little bit of tone or white on that side, and this one right here, I'll put it on the opposite, edge, like this, where this one's lighter, because this is being centrally illuminated. I'm using a lot less of this white on here than I normally do when I'm using white paper again. I'm being a little bit more, I don't know, selective, I should say, about that. Oh, I forgot to add some of the texture down on that rock here. Good night, Deanna. Sleep well. Deanna's going to do another purple. She liked, I think, one of her scenes. It was I didn't log on to Facebook yet, but I think that's what you wrote in your notation for one of your scenes. Okay, so adding a little bit of this texture down on this rock. You can add colors too in this rock. This rock is called boulders with lichens, so you can kind of hit some of those kind of licheny. Oh, I think that's what I was wondering why I had this orange out. Or wait, no, there was another color. Or maybe I put it away. I had orange out, I think. And I was wondering what I used that for. I think I used it on my rock the last time. I hope you like purple, Darcy. Look at that purple. Darcy's D in her icon is purple. So I'm going to add a little of this orange down in here into these rocks. I'm adding it in an area that's kind of roughly the same value of this orange. So it doesn't stand out darker or lighter. It just has a little tinge of this color in there, okay? And I think that looks pretty good in terms of a little texture in there. I don't know if you can see, you might be able to get the gist of it slightly looking at this live stream. And then this is like a lighter version of orange, right? This beige. So I'll come in over that a little bit just to kind of mellow it out a little bit. So, it has that little bit of a kind of the, those colors that you see on these rocks, that lichen. Sometimes there's like a red or yellow on them. I don't think I want to go with the yellow on this because I think that would stand out a little bit too much. Although is yellow the complementary color of purple? I can't remember. Or is orange? Okay, so we're doing that. Okay, so now that I've done that, okay, maybe it's a little bit too orangish, but I wonder if I have I think I put these caps on the wrong thing. This looks too pink on that one. Well, I don't remember. I don't think I did, because I'm never working with two pens at the same time where I have the caps off. Okay, but here's what I'm doing now. Like from this book right here, I think that here I'm getting the ideas from this book and just looking through this book with you guys tonight here. That scene where'd it go? Well, this one right here. Look at this one right here. Look at those pinks from this have fallen down here. Look at this pink road right here. But you can't see the pink in the greens because it's too green. You can see a little bit down here, but look at that pink road. We need to do that. But this is what I'm going for. I need some of this pink, some of these fallen blossoms now on the surfaces down there. So yeah, like this one right here, some of that type of thing. This one's more white and pink though. But we need some of that in this piece, okay? And then that'll bring a little bit more continuity too to everything. So I think this will, this pink right here is probably the good one to go with. So let's try that. Okay. So adding some of these down, like I'll kind of cluster them like they're on the tops of some of these rocks. It's a perfect excuse to bring in some of these colors into other areas too, to represent that kind of floating petal in the water and just lying on the surface of other types of objects too, okay? All right, you guys probably can't see this at all, and I apologize for that. Yeah, you can see a little bit of it. Right? See this right down here? But see, I'm kind of clustering it a little bit. The pink and the white, you probably can't see at all. Let me see if I can get that glare off of there. The glare is the thing that's kind of nice about this, but on this live stream, it's also the thing that I think it's hard for you guys to see here. I'll put a little bit of a cluster of it right here. You know, because there's, you know, there tends to be a little bit of a kind of a current, you know, even in still water, you know, where things are kind of collecting, you know, usually things aren't just evenly spread everywhere. They kind of cluster together a little bit. So I'm adding that in there. Let's add some of them on the rocks right here. Let's add a lot of this on these rocks. I like these brown rocks with the pink on top of it. You can add even some, maybe, you know, some could be like floating, you know, down in the air too, like this. All right. I don't know, can you guys see that right there? You can kind of see it in the darker areas. I just kind of put that over everything, you know, like little, and a lot of times I do like splatter painting over certain things, but this is just going in with this colored one and adding it, you know, throughout the piece a little bit like that. So, all right. So after this scene, this will be the last kind of extreme paint pen scene that I'll be doing for the next 12 months. I really like this piece, but that was a lot of dots. Maybe you start off with a like a quarter page standard size, you know, card. But you know, I really had to have this in here for this scene. I really wanted that. I mean, you can do it like on a quarter page scenario like this, you know, and just have some trees right here. I would have less water area and less sky, but I don't know. I'll try to do some kind of, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how quick a quick scene we can do with this one, especially as far as the number of paint pen applications. I bet you I can do a quarter page version of this in about, I think it would take 40 minutes or something like that, which isn't too bad, you know, for something like this. Maybe I'll do it on, you know, a lot of people don't have pearl photo paper. Maybe I'll try it on matte cardstock or something like that. I've been meaning to get to some of the Hamilco, whatever you call it. Just plain white cardstock, you know. And then we can use a lot more of that misty type of look in here. But I really like this this pearl. I think this pearl is really I don't know. I feel that there's a place for it for sure. That just that sheer amount of reflective quality to it. I don't know. It's just a little bit of a different look to it. It's not. I'm used to looking at a lot of more extreme types of surface qualities nowadays, you know, where it's like really a big difference, you know, in terms of the overall look. I want to do this one right here coming up pretty soon, this kind of real shimmery type of surface like that. But it's just kind of funny. The pearl right now is kind of more of it would have been like an extreme kind of surface stamp on for me a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. when I was mostly doing like matte and glossy cardstocks and sometimes photo papers and whatnot, just white, you know. But this, I don't know, it's pretty fun. And like I said, in relation to just a piece of white paper, you know, it just really reflects so much more tone off of it in that pearl look too. So it's a little bit of a silvery sheen. So you can see it, even see it coming through areas where I haven't really covered, you know, with too much media in there. You see that little white pigment ink in there too, like that. So I don't know. We'll have to think of some other types of scenarios for it. I think it'd really be great as a water, like an ocean type of service or something like that. Just stamp the seaside cove or something like that with a little bit of horizon or something like that. That might be kind of an interesting thing to do, is do, you know, some sort of a horizon glow with a little bit of a full moon on the surface where you have that little bit of a shimmery, really silver type of surface like that. So I think that would be really fun. Oh, thanks so much, Nicole. I'm glad you enjoyed it there. I'm glad it came out. I feel it came out pretty good. I don't know. What do you guys think? You know, in terms of, you know, like I said, you know, I was going for something like this. I didn't have the colors apparently, you know, to get that real magenta-y-ish color, but I think in terms of the overall type of shimmery little dotty type of thing, you know, I think these pens worked out decently. Every time I look at this now, it's like, oh, I need more pink in there. But just in terms of the textures, maybe it's, like I said, it's more akin to something like that down there. But I don't know. It was really fun. It's fun for me, especially, you know, when I'm doing this type of thing like this and I'm coloring these types of things in, and then I'm starting to do these paint pens in here. A lot of times it's really looking very different in terms of the textures in there. But where this really comes together for me is when I get down to those lighter tones and I'm using those ones, and then you get those real good variations within those kind of, you know, the shapes that you want to, you know, look three-dimensional. I mean, we started off with, you know, where is it? You know, these are the images right here. I try to make these as three-dimensional as I can looking, but, you know, when you hit it with these paint pens like that, in like fall colors or whatever, you know, these paint pens, like I've been telling people these days, with the paint pens, they've really answered my whatever image dilemmas that we used to have with just using dye-based inks. You know, I couldn't get that type of dimension in there, for especially like fall types of color schemes and whatnot, where you really want those, you know, we want those leaves, you know, those leaves to shimmer and have a little bit of differentiation, you know, the way the light hits them and whatnot. And I think we can get a lot closer these days with these, you know, relatively cheap paint pen sets. So I don't know, it's just really fun to do too. But it's those lighter ones. Build it up from your darker ones and get down to the lighter ones. If you haven't done this before and you just start laying down those darker tones like that, it looks kind of weird or whatever. But it really makes sense when you start to hit those lighter areas like that in there. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And I you know, that type of thing's occurring to me every time I do one of these things like that. It's like, okay, just keep working with it and add those variations in there, and then it comes together at some point in time where it might look, like I said, a lot kind of unrelated, you know, when you start adding those different types of textures in there. That can look really foreign, especially if you're using those really big, thick 3mm ones. It can look really kind of strange as like a initial kind of little texture in one little area or whatnot. All right, so anyways, use the, oh yeah, you use the, yeah, we can use the smaller one. Yeah, that's true, Laura. Of course, if I use the smaller one, then it doesn't cover as much area as this one for a quick card. But yeah, I get it there. I can use the smaller one, you know, for that, you know, more of a, you know, a varied surface in terms of a smaller format there. I can't wait to get this one matted up. I'm kind of curious, you know, with that pearl in there, I'm just kind of wondering what I should matte up. I usually do a little bit of a white border around there, but there's nothing white in here. Isn't that the interesting thing? except for the paint pen dots. So there's no white paper. So I don't know. Maybe you have to use something like a, a silver star dream or something like that. I don't think I have any here. I think this would be a little bit too loud like that with the mirrored. Yeah, it's way too loud. The mirrored one. But it might be cool to do, some kind of mirror card. Speaking of that, with the, the pearl over a mirror. Oh, maybe that one's a good one for the like that ocean setting scene. Use the silver or this pearlish one in the sky reflecting down in the silver. I don't know. There's all kinds of different types of things. Oh, embossing powders. Yeah. Now on this one right here, I don't think I've been kind of hesitant to use embossing powders on things like, these types of holographics and whatnot, because it'd be like heating up a piece of plastic. I think these would shrink, okay? This is photo paper, but it's not on the vinyl. And I don't know, it might work, okay? Where like on the real metallic-y ones, I get kind of that rainbowing kind of thing happening if you have the heat on there for too long. But I think this one might be able to take it, but I don't know. This type of piece on here could really warp and bend, but the fact that I find the lighter ones, the thinner ones like this, when I'm doing embossing on them or I'm heat setting, the thicker ones bow on you as well as the smaller ones. But the smaller ones seem to, because they're thinner, they bend back to flat easier for me. That's why I started thinking about using the text weight Star Dream lapis lazuli as opposed to the 110-pound cover weight ones which I normally got because I always thought the thicker the better for cards, right? But I started working on the lapis lazuli Star Dream one. And I thought I can get used to this, these thinner ones. There's certain types of benefits to these thinner ones. I don't feel that from a tactile point of, standpoint, I like working on a thicker piece. It feels better. But I don't know, with certain types of applications, I think that the thinner ones are somewhat a little bit more forgiving sometimes, okay? Oh, good night, Kay, if you're still there. But yeah. All right. A lot more things to explore and whatnot. Thanks so much for joining in. If anyone made it through from start to finish, I'm going to, we need to send you out a medal for this one. But I don't know. I think I've learned some new things about this type of pearl on this one. And I'm glad I was able to get the scene done on this one tonight than I was able to 2 nights ago, which I wasn't able to. But this is what the scenario that I had in mind right here. And I don't know. I like purples, I guess. I like the whole color schemes, and I like working with the pearl surface on here. And I definitely need to, after 2 nights ago, I definitely learned my lesson in terms of cleaning off the stays on ink off of my stamps before I use something like a dye-based ink on them again, and stamping them on, some sort of surface like this. It just didn't work. So, yeah. All right. So anyways, thanks so much again, folks. Have a great rest of evening and night, day, wherever you are, weekend. And yeah, really appreciate everyone joining in and stamping with me. It makes it more fun for me too, to stamp with some people with the same interests and hobbies. And a lot of times you guys have more answers than I do for certain types of media too. So yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks again. Oh, let me see. Linda put a note. When I do dots, I often lose the shape of the tree. That occurs to me too, Linda. Maybe it's because you're looking at these trees from a distance, but I don't think I really kept the forms of them too much. I try to stay within the confines of the silhouette, I should say, Linda. But where I start losing them, see, like this it's a little bit more of an even patterning, right? But see on this one right here, I've clustered it. So I'm kind of defining the shape of the tree a little bit more through the use of the lighter tones, okay? So that's one of the things you can do or try out like that. Cluster your lighter dots to redefine a shape, because I do lose it. Like this one right here, I mean, that's just like a pattern over the top of it. I really didn't spend too much time on the green trees. And like these ones right here, you know, like I said, I stay away from the silhouette though. I stay within the confines of it. But like in here, it gets a little bit cluttered, you know, a little bit. So I do it with the, I might go in with a white or the like the lightest tones in this case like that. See, there's like white right there and white up there, but nothing in between, right, of that color. So it just kind of suggests structure within there. I was thinking about little, you know, like some white branches in here too, you know, like trunks and stuff like that. But on this one, I'm thinking, maybe not, you know, maybe that would stand out a little bit too much on this, because I'm not stamping on like a white piece of paper either. I'm starting off on the silver, so that white wouldn't really relate to the a lot of the colors around in here. That's my thoughts. I don't know. I still need to do, you know, a lot more experimentation with this. Um, you know, I haven't been using the paint pens for, you know, a super long time. So yeah. All right, folks. Good night, everyone.